manager, how you use that in working with your colleagues. Okay. So today we are looking at unionism. And looking at this unionism today, we will look at 6 sections. The first session, we will look at overview of trade unionism in Ghana. We will also consider establishment of trade unions congress. Then from there, at session 3, we will look at TUC and Republic of Ghana. At unit 4, we will look at what meaning and nature of trade unions. Session 5, we will go through functions of trade union. And then session 6, we will look at reasons for joining trade unions. So we have 6 sessions to cover. For session 1, we are looking at if we talk about trade union movement or labor movement, what it means. And we are talking about the fact that trade union movement consists of organizations such as unions, federations, and congress, plus other organizations which support unions. So once we are talking about trade union movement, we are talking about various labor movements in the work environment. So we are really talking about campaign for better working conditions and treatment from their employers. So we are looking the as a group, and when they come together, the essence is to get working condition, better working conditions, and better treatment. Units, we spoke about the fact that the employers and employees different interests, and it is at the level where they have different interests where the employers are looking for profitability and employees are looking for better condition of service. That is where they are looking at better working conditions. That is where that whole idea of employees coming together and fighting for all, ensuring that they request for whatever is good for them and their members. So that is where trade union movement comes in. Now, in Ghana, as a nation, trade union started somewhere in the Gold Coast time, when the early 1990s, when the colonial master started engaging Ghanaian citizens to undertake some work. Initially, they started engaging our citizens or Ghanaian citizens as craftsmen. And so unionism in Ghana in the early 19th century started with craft unions, where that people who were in the cities and were engaged to work for the colonial government at the time started forming their unions, until when gradually industrialization also came into the system, and then they continued from there. So before these unions were formed, the employer and employee relations were just based on master servant, as we had discussed earlier. I mean, so they started working without any unionism. The workers were just going to work. They saw the colonial masters as their masters, and the colonial masters saw the workers as their servants, or the employees as their servants. And so that was how they really were working. So the whole idea was that the African workers were just engaged, and they thought that these African workers, all what they want is something to survive. They come to work because of money. So if you give them a lot of money and they become rich, they may not even work. So the colonial masters actually, the payments they were given to the early African workers, and for that matter Ghanaian workers who were working as craftsmen or in the industries, were peanuts. It wasn't much to write home about. So then the workers felt that they needed to come together and actually demand something better from the colonial employers, because if they look at the way they were treating them, it wasn't good enough. So according to Ba 2000, I mean the research conducted by Ba, he indicated that there was that whole idea that because the African workers were just interested in uh, salary and wages, the colonial masters didn't want to give them much, and therefore, and at this time too, there was no law that is actually banding them to pay them so much. So, because as we said, they were just looking at them as slave workers, and they really have to work for more hours. Those days, there were racism, they were hard work, they were engaged the citizens to do a lot of hard work, more hours. I mean, the work environment, poor health and safety standards are there. I mean, when people go to work as if they were slaves, if you had gone to work for somebody or work in the factory those days, you were treated as though you are a slave, the way they were treating our slaves. And don't forget that even some of the slaves in prison were used to do hard work or forced labor. And so they were treating even the employees or workers who are not prisoners in a very harsh condition with a very minimal salary. So when all those things were going on, somewhere in 1925, there was the first association called Government School Teachers Union, GSTU. It was formed in 1925. Then, somewhere in 1928, there was also another union called Motor Drivers Association, which was also formed in 1928. Then from there, we had Carpenters Association. This was formed in 1929. And then the Motor Transport Union of Ashanti. And then uh, assisted School Teachers Union was formed in 1931. So if you look at it, between 1925 and 1931, there was now that whole idea of workers now thinking that if we don't come together and have a common association, the people will just cheat us. So they started forming these associations. It started with, as I just said, it started with teachers forming association. It started with drivers forming association. Then from there, we saw also other workers forming association, and it was very necessary because if they don't form those associations, they were more treated, and in fact, they were even paying high tax. When they give them salary, they were paying as much as 29% tax on their salary, and meanwhile the salary was already something small, and they were also paying such huge sums or percentage of money. I mean, it went on somewhere in 1956. At this time, I think we were near so close to our independence. The uh, assistant, the Ghana School Teachers Union, and then the Ghana School Teachers Union and the Asante School Teachers Union came together to form what they call Gold Coast Teachers Union. And so the two groups, because they realized that if they stand alone and they were divided, they would take advantage of them. So they came together and form one union so that they can together ask for better uh, wages or better working condition. In somewhere 1919, for example, the PWD, workers were, I mean, these were craftsmen who were working in the public works department of the government at the time, or the colonial master. They were all trying to use them to do some work, but very minimal pay. In, so if you do the reading, you will see that it's a history. But what we are reading is more of history, so there's little we can do apart from to know the dates and the unions. So I will urge us that as we do the reading, we check the dates and the unions. It may come in MCQ. Our exam, if it's MCQ, they may ask the date certain unions were formed. And then also, for us as business executive, it also allow us to know the history of where we have come from. So if you belong to a union today and you are asking for better working condition and all of that, you should know that it started from somewhere to get to where we have reached. So basically, all of these uh, these dates and history remind us of the various listen. Then somewhere the establishment of the Trade Unions Congress, what we now call the TUC, actually in 1945, according to the history, the Trade Union Congress of Gold Coast was formed. That was in 1945. It was formed with 14 unions and a total membership of 6,030. So the TUC had its headquarters in Second D in the Western region. Okay, don't forget that uh, uh, Accra wasn't the first capital of Ghana; it was Cape Coast. And some of these things, the early stages, because of the train, because of the mines in the Western region, and because of some industries spread across Western region, Western region, Aboso, and the rest, Takwa. Second D, Takrade, the railway was there and all of that. So it was those that place was a very vibrant place for uh, the African and for the matter Ghanaian workers, artisans who were working in those uh, organizations. And so it was in Second D in 1945 that the uh, Trade Union Congress of Gold Coast at the time, once we are talking about 1945, we had not attained independence. So our country was Gold Coast at the time. Uh, the and as we said, it has its headquarters in Second D in Western Region. Okay, C.W. Techimensan and Manfred Gezi became the first president and general secretary. So the first president of TUC Gold Coast was C.W. Techimensan. As I said, these are names you just need to know for the sake of maybe your exams, or if you are also given a back information lecture on trade unions, you can mention them. So these are actually the TUC could not register with the Labor Department according to, because Trade Union Ordinance Cap 91 did not have provisions for Federation of Trade Unions. So TUC was just, because there were other uh, union movements that had been formed earlier. So even though the trade union was formed in 1945, its registration had a challenge. Membership started growing from 14 to 27 unions. Uh, and the individual 10,976. These are all history, as I said. In 1947, the trade union considered district councils of labor made up of both and unregistered trade unions. Okay, so somewhere in 1947, they realized that we need to ensure we bring more membership on board. So or not, once you form the union, you come and we will include you in our activities, because they wanted one union that will serve as mouthpiece for the entire country. For the started working on all of that. Okay, then so this happened until then 1957 Ghana had independence. Now we want to 1957 we were this whole thing we were saying that it was the African worker or the Ghanaian worker saw the Ghanaian worker as a slave and felt that they needed them to work. If they paid them so much and the people make money, they will stop working or they will rest or their life will be better. So let's give them peanuts. Let's don't give them good working condition. Now, unions have been formed. In 1957, Ghana has obtained independence. We are looking at CPP government, the first political party that ruled Ghana after the colonial master or after independence is the Convention People's Party. So in 1958, the CPP passed the Industrial Relations Act 56 to give legal backing to TUC. And right, remember a while ago we said that even though when TUC was formed in second day in 1945, the colonial master the laws at the time didn't make provision or they did not allow them to actually register the TUC. So when the CPP government came into force in 1958, they now, through the Act 56, made provision for the registration of Trade Unions Congress as the sole labor center. So they also said that we cannot allow small groups. So let us recognize one mouthpiece so that all unions will fall under TUC. And then when government wants to engage workers, then government will engage the TUC. Okay, so the act made collective bargaining compulsory for private sector workers and made collective agreements legally binding on employers and workers. So now, because government felt that we needed to treat the workers very well or better than a situation that they were going through under the colonial master, that law made it mandatory that collective bargaining, you can't just get up as an employer and decide how much or what you want to pay employees. So you need to come together and discuss the condition. So it now becomes the government saw it as a contract. So if it's as a contract, we need to discuss the role of the employer, the role of the employee, and then the rights and the responsibilities, the work hours, the things that the employer, the rights and responsibilities of the employer, the rights and responsibilities and the employee. When we are done with that, let's put it in a document called collective bargaining agreement, and then let the employer and the employee sign, and let that be a guide or be an instrument that will guide the relationship between the employer and then the employee. So that was how the CPP government its contribution to ensure that employment relation gets legal backing, and then it doesn't become one party's control, and that they need to discuss and agree on that. So the act also actually gave a legal backing to the check-off system for dues collection and introduced the principles of compulsory conciliation and arbitration, as well as procedures to be followed to embark on a strike action. So now, government was intentional. You see that the way our people have been treated as slaves wasn't the best. Now, let's allow them to even deduct their dues from because if they are going to form union, they need money to undertake their operations or their activities. So the law allowed dues to be collected for the union. Then it also even allows the arbitration, conciliation. I mean, so that if there are issues, instead of going to court, there must be So arbitrators were said to listen to parties, even strike. What are the processes that employees must go through before they go on strike? So all of that they discussed it, or they included it in the act, and that under the act, both the employer and the union were protected from interference in the affairs of either party. So the law makes it possible such that employers couldn't interfere in union activities, and unions also couldn't interfere in the employers' way of doing things. So uh, you are an employer, you have your function, you are an employee, you have your work. If you come as a union, the union, you cannot interfere. If you want to meet with the employer, the collective bargaining agreement has outlined how that engagement should be, and that should guide our activities or the activities. Victimization and discrimination against union officers were also prohibited by the act. You know, until then, during the colonial master time, if you were a union leader, you could be uh, victimized. You could actually uh, be manhandled because they saw you as a troublemaker, as somebody who challenges authority. But the 56 Act actually uh, indicated, or as part of the Act 56, which was actually passed in 1958. The Act is Act 56, but the Act was passed in 1958 after the independence, as we said. Now, this Act said no. If the people are union leaders, you don't need to victimize them, and you actually don't also need to discriminate against them, and you don't need to punish them because they are only a mouthpiece, particularly when they follow in their discharge of their work, they follow the rules that have been outlined in the collective bargaining agreement. Then we don't think workers were prevented from maltreating union executives. So that is the kind of support that CPP government, how they supported and acknowledged unionism in Ghana. Okay, uh, the act also has setting up of National Advisory Committee uh, on Labor, a tripartite committee created to advise government on labor issues, including ratification of ILO conventions and labor legislation. So you realize that Nkrumah was very, very intentional, very, very intentional. I mean, if you read the history, government was intentional because don't forget that even the independence of our country, workers were much involved, marching to the Flagstaff House where they were shot. The Corporal Tipu and the Sergeant, whatever. So the soldiers who were
Private or that
killed,
all I'm saying.
the soldiers who were killed, they were just marching to demand their entitlement. So really, unions were very powerful through that. That can destabilize government. And so CPP governments led by the late Dr. Kwame Nkrumah Osajifo saw the need to actually pay attention to unions. So if you read the history, you realize the kind of support he gave and make sure that uh, government will reduce trade unions and to restrict uh, them in on industrial lines. So accordingly, the Gold Coast Teachers Union, don't forget they were merging unions. So because government they didn't want to have splinter unions, so many very low salary, and because they thought that the trade union was supposed to be a mouthpiece, and therefore uh, teachers who were earning 680 cities were actually even prevented from joining unions because they felt that your life is better. Unionism is about coming together, creating a mouthpiece to make a standard of living or condition of service better for people. You are already in a better position. And so it became an issue. If you read, so that whole paragraph talks about what the kind of unionism that took place. The TUC derives several benefits from its close relationship with the CPP. So, the TUC felt because the government gave so much power and recognition to TUC because they felt that if we put all the unions together, get one mouthpiece, we will not be distracted by many uh, many unions. So, at Nkrumah's time, that was basically what it is. Okay. Then, section 3, we are talking about the role of TUC in the various Republic of Ghana. So, we want to see all the republic we have had so far, how TUC has also fed. As I said, this portion of the chapter is more of history. It's more of history we are talking about. So, the TUC suffered a setback after the overthrow of first president of Ghana in 1966. Some of the leaders of TUC were imprisoned. You see, because of the way the Trade Union Congress worked so closely with CPP, because they felt that we had come from in the early 19th, from 1921 upwards until 1958. We were not even allowed to form organized unions, and even when TVC was formed in 1945, the colonial master didn't even recognize it. So Nkrumah gave them the opportunity. He put them together. They were able to now have collective bargaining power. They were able to now go through arbitration. They were to sit down. In fact, there was a tripartite committee where even when basic pay, they were part of it. So they had become more powerful and more recognized by government. When there was a coup in 1966 and they were actually handling the politicians, they also it also affected some of the union leaders. Council, which overthrew Kwame Nkrumah in 1966, appointed Benjamin. Hello, please, can you mute yourself for us? As the Secretary General of the TUC. So they now appointed, can you imagine, NLC, the government of the day that overthrew CPP government, now even appoints the Secretary General for the TUC. So you see government interference in union activities. Later, Bentumi was reported to have orchestrated the arrest of the existing leadership of TUC to pave way for him to reorganize the labor movement. So you realize that government has now interfered. They imprison some of the TUC leaders. They appoint a general secretary. The general secretary in turn also orchestrated arrest of some of the existing union leaders so that he now can organize the union and in making sure that union leadership are all in support of the coup makers. So actually, at this point, government has interfered. Meanwhile, at the early stages, Nkrumah, when they brought the Act 56 in 1958, the Act 56 indicated that there must be independence. Employers and employees must enjoy some level of independence in their collective bargaining and all of that. Now, government has interfered. they had bylaws that give more autonomy to the national unions. So now, at an extraordinary delegates congress held in June 1966, the body decided to elect the general secretary. So they actually elected Bentrim as general secretary, the person who was asked to act or appointed by government. Now they maneuver to get him to be elected by the uh, extraordinary conference. So now you realize that government has interfered. And one element of the amendment constitution of the TUC was provision that prevented union leaders from engaging in party politics. The stance was further endorsed at another extraordinary congress held in 1969. In 1967, the Civil Servants Act of 1960 that made trade union membership compulsory for civil servants was repealed. Uh, this affected the membership of national unions. So, so you see, at Nkrumah's level time, in the act made every employee uh, for becoming member of the union, because government felt that that was making it them so strong. The NLC government repealed that portion and said, after all, it's not compulsory for people to workers to be part of the union. Okay, so government also implemented the IMF sponsored policy that had negative effects on workers and the labor movement. The policies involved massive retrenchment of unionized workers in state-owned enterprises, minimal increase in the minimum. So when government came, the NLC government, IMF now, they went to IMF and the conditions included the uh, sacking workers, retrenchment. They felt that no, government payroll was too much. There were too many workers on government payroll. So they have to sack some of them. And then they also ensure that salary increase was very minimal. So, always when we join IMF, they comes with conditions. And even to date, IMF conditionalities for put embargo on employment, and even sometimes uh, because you see the surest way they think they can push government is just to get workers to be affected instead of they actually hammering on maybe areas of challenge such as corruption and the rest. The easiest way is for them to tell government that don't employ any more people, sack some people, don't increase salary and all of that. So I mean that this thing didn't start today. It started as way back as uh, the National Liberation Council government time. So that was the role they also played. We have seen the role Kwame Nkrumah played with the CPP. We now have seen the role NLC played. Now in 1969, the Second Republic, the First Republic was the CPP. The Second Republic is the Buzier's government. And then how we need to also look at how they also treated the Trade Union Congress. So 1969, Ghana ushered in the Second Republic under the Progress Party, the PP, which Ghana was led by K. Buzia as the Prime Minister, and then the Akufo-Addo as the president at the time in 1969. And so for them to the TUC and the PP had opposing ideological orientations. The sharp difference in ideology led to some confrontation between them. The TUC was dissolved in 1971. So government, the PP government had issues with the way the Trade Union Congress approach to things were. So in 1979, 71, the Buzia government dissolved TUC, Trade Union Congress, by amending the Industrial Relations Act with Amendment Act 383. And the day after the act was passed, the whole of trade unions in Accra, the police entered the offices of the TUC and seized files and documents. the national unions were required to actually change their constitutions and to register within 6 months. I mean, so now government have dissolved TUC, is asking the individual unions to amend all their constitution and come again to register as fresh unions. The history says that 4 months after the adoption of the Act 383, the Second Republic was overthrown by National Redemption Council. So really, it means that the Second Republic's story about TUC is no good. There's a government that came to dissolve Trade Unions Congress just because they thought that the unions were powerful, challenging government and all of that. And unfortunately, that government didn't live for long. They came in 1969 and they were in 1972. So it's lived in a short life, and it was overthrown by the National Redemption Council led by Ike Achampo, and we are interested in what also happened. So it was reinstated by the new military regime by the Industrial Relations Act, a degree in 1972, which repealed the Industrial Relations Amendment Act 1971. So when Acheampong government came, they realized that no, they brought back the um, they repealed the Progress Party Amendment Act, and then they brought back the CPPs, the previous act that favored the trade unions. So actually, in the history of trade unions, I think the Progress Party doesn't have a very good history or good story with the TUCs. The TUC and the military regimes between 1972 and 1992. So between 1972 and 1992, the Supreme Military Council introduced reforms or policies that improved the working conditions and job security of workers. So they were also looking at them. And then in 1978, the UC formed the Social Democratic Front to contest national elections. So in fact, it came to a point where trade union members or leaders were politically active, that they got so much politically active that in 1978, when they wanted to actually have another republic in 1979, the trade unions formed a party that was called Social Democratic Front, and to contest the national elections uh, in June 1979, while preparations were for far advanced for the national elections. The group of young military, so the runners AFRC, unfortunately, that election didn't even take place when the AFRC, the Armed Forces Regulation Council, led by JJ Runners, in a coup d'etat, removed the Acheampong's government and were supported by the. So at this point, they came and supervised another election. They came and another election. But during this election, the AFRC allowed the elections in August 1979. The SDF presented 120 candidates out of a total of 140 constituency seats nationwide, but won only 3 seats. So in 1979, during the election that brought PNC led by Imam to power, union members contested in the name of their political party that had been formed by trade union. I just mentioned that the trade unions formed the SDF party, and the country at the time had 140 constituencies. They were able to actually get 120 out of the 140 constituencies. They filled members for 120. But when the election was finally held, 3 constituencies, Trade Union Congress Party won. So you realize, you see how TUC has been very vibrant. I mean, even to the extent of forming a political party and then putting members on the ticket of the trade union political party, the SDF. So that was it. Um, 79. Um, then from there in 1991, unfortunately, Lawrence came back again, just within 2 years or less than 2 years, handing over the governance to uh, PNC government led by uh, Imam. Came back again. And at this time when he came, the IMF and World Bank actually had brought a lot of reforms. So these reforms saw the government that came at whose time the earlier coup in 1979 even allow workers to form a political party and contested election. Unfortunately, when it came in 1981, this time round, because of workers are even losing their job, according to uh, Boatin 2001, the formal sector of Ghanaian economy lost about 235,000 jobs, and we say 89% of these job losers could be attributed to retrenchment. So the IMF and the World Bank conditionality was very unfavorable to workers in 1981. It's estimated that the TUC lost over a quarter of its membership. So more than a quarter of TUC members lost their
Yeah,
job
good
within
morning.
this month's retrenchment.
After the quiet, we baron corner.
Hey, please, can you uh, minimize or mute yourself?
Any blue tank in one.
So actually,
I have a blue
the
tank in now.
in 1981, conditions were not good at all for uh, workers or TUC members. And as we said, most so was the conditions because Ghana resorted to IMF and World Bank for support, and for them to support the nation, these were the conditions they gave. So government had no option than to obey. Then the labor movement in the Fourth Republic from 1993 to 2012, and as we are aware, in 1991 there was the referendum to return to multi-party democracy that gave birth to the Fourth Republic. I mean, the First Republic was Nkrumah. We have seen how he worked closely with TUC. The Second Republic was with the Progress Party led by uh, Buzia that came to actually even dissolve the TUC and got a lot of leaders even imprisoned. And then we saw the Third Republic, where uh, which was led by Limam, and preparation toward that Third Republic. We saw that even the uh, Trade Union Congress formed a political party to contest the election and got involved. Unfortunately, in 1981, the military government took over, and this time around, retrenchment galore. Now, things were not very good shape for the Trade Union Congress, and finally, we have now come to 1992, where the uh, political parties have been formed. Fourth Republic has been given birth, and the election was held on the 7th of December 1992. Uh, and then uh, on the 7th of January 1993, government has been sworn in. And so at this point, uh, a group of individuals who had resigned from the Industrial and Commercial Workers Union, an affiliate of TUC, formed a new union. And so the new union was called Textiles, Garment and Leather Employees Union. Leather Employees Union. The Labor Department, after a survey conducted in 1983, issued the new union a certificate of registration. So somewhere in 1996, to a group of aggrieved graduate teachers also broke away from the NAT and then also from the NAGRAT. And so now unions are being formed, multiple unions again, unlike the previous one where it was only TUC. 1987, 8 unions not affiliated to TUC formed the Ghana Federation of Labour. So this one, these unions included the NATS, the Ghana Registered Nurses, the Civil Servants Association, the JUSAC. They were about 8. They also formed their union aside of the TUC. In May 1999, an initiative to develop a Labour Act began. The National Democratic Congress government, so government in 2003 actually got this act enacted. So the act we are currently using is called Act the Labour Act 651 2003, and that law once again promulgated in 2003, and to date, that is the act that is governing our labor activity. This act actually allows 2 or more employees or workers of the same working class to form association. However, the condition is that if within one organization or among the same class of workers, if we have more than one unions formed, the one of the union with the highest number of registered members is really given the certificate of the bargaining certificate. The other ones are recognized, registered as registered unions, all right, but the bargaining certificate is in the hands of the one with the highest number. So I think that is it. So far, that is the history of the unions. We have now moved into 2003 and beyond, and now there's an act that has given more recognition to the formation of unions, to the extent that now they even allow 2 or more unions to be members of the same class to form unions. That is how come you see a lot of splinter unions among the teachers now. They have NAGRAT, they have what they call concerned teachers, the concerned teachers union or something like that. So now
CCT.
more, hello,
So I think it's CCT, Coalition of
yeah,
Concerned
CCT,
Teachers. Yes.
yeah, coalition of concerned teachers, CCT. Okay, coalition of concerned teachers. It is because of our act. The Labor Act now allows. In fact, if people want to follow the Labor Act, there can be more than 100 unions under not under teachers alone, because it can be formed in subject area, it can be formed in region, it can be formed in several other, they can have several other reasons. But the only thing is that at any point in time, the one with the highest number, currently it is the NAT that has the highest number. I was a trained teacher, and so when we completed school those days, it was automatic. Once you completed school, you were an automatic member of NAT. Today, it is not like that. When the teachers complete school and they even post them, it's not compulsory for you to join NAT. You have to fill a form. Maybe NAT will convince you, NAGRAT will convince you, the CCT will convince you, and if you are convinced to join any of them, you will now or pick their form and fill, and then they will send your form or your records to the Controller Accountant General before they can deduct your dues for them. The nurses, I think, also now have other splinter groups. So these days, people can have splinter groups because there is the Act 2003, Act 651, that has allowed that, and it allows
Yeah,
for collective bargaining and tripartite. Yeah, if there's any comments, you want
yeah,
to share
sure.
your
So
anything with us, please? Yes.
I want to ask a
Okay.
question. The
Yeah, please
NAGRA,
ask.
the NAGAT and the NAT and the concerned teachers or something. I've forgotten the last one you mentioned.
Yeah.
Are they not?
Coalition of concerned teachers.
Okay. Are they not heading the same goal, like for the betterment of teachers?
Yes, they are all looking for betterment of teachers. But let me tell you, for the NAGRAT, I have a bit of idea. What happened was that teachers at first, teachers were certificate who, in fact, the teachers began of middle school. People who leave middle school go to the training college. They call them postmedical. So those days, not even up to secondary school, they will complete middle school, 4-year middle school after class 6, and then after the 4-year middle school, they go to the training college to do a year or two, and they call them postmedical. And then from there, they came to, when I went to training college at our time, it was post-secondary and it was certificate. It wasn't up to diploma. So we came out with certificate. So then people came out with diploma. Now, as time passed by and people went to university to do degree and the rest, they came back. A lot of the union leaders were people who have not gone to university, who didn't have first degree. They were either certificate holders or postmedical persons, or at most advanced diploma. Those days, some went to Winneba to do advanced diploma and the rest. So now they felt that because the union leaders were certificate holders and the rest, when they went for bargaining, they could not bargain for better condition of service, because when you are bargaining and you are comparing yourself to other profession, they will say, they are degree holders, you are not a degree holder and the rest. So anytime they went, even when they went for Congress and they were talking about things that will help the degree holders, because majority of the members were not degree holders, the degree holders felt that their interest was not well catered for. So they felt that for them to be able to bargain and get a good condition of service for themselves, they needed to move away from NAT, which membership and leadership were mostly made up of non-degree holders. So that is how NAGRAT felt that if we come and we create a union that every member holds first degree minimum, then when we go to government and we are talking, then we can tell government that, see, we are talking as teachers who are well educated and who really have degree. And so don't treat us as if we didn't have higher educational qualification and maybe didn't pass WASI and what have you, because sometimes when they go for collective bargaining and they were talking, sometimes government and its agencies will keep referring to the educational, because medical doctors and the pharmacists and the rest are talking. They say they hold first degree, they have gone to school, they have done that. Then I mean, you should understand that even sometimes arguing your points is problematic because your level of education is very low. So actually for NAGRAT, that is how it came.
Okay, sir, I get it now.
They also felt that the leadership of NAT and NAGRAT were not keeping faith with their members, and that they were not serving interests of their members very well, and that they were accusing serving their personal interests as union executives. So they promised some people and said, I see, the people who are leading us are not honest and sincere. We can fight your cause. So they broke away. So always, and then they get people who believe in the same excuse, and then they put them in a group and form another group. So that is actually what happened. So they are all championing the interests of the teacher, but they have different ideology. For NAGRAT, they say all our membership are first degree holders. NAT, there are, in fact, even on, they are even non-degree teachers who are even secondary school leavers who are not trained. The people teachers who didn't go to training college and they were teaching were still also even members of NAT, and NAT is taking their dues in the name of fighting for them. But if you come to NAGRAT, every member of NAGRAT hold minimum of first degree, whether trained teacher or untrained teacher. You are their minimum qualification is first degree. That was the object, and that was the purpose for which they were formed. Coalition, I'm sure, like NAT, will have both the degree and non-degree teachers, but for them, they felt that they were the ones who are very honest and sincere and will fight for nothing but interest of teachers and not the interest of executives per se. So I think that is how this whole challenge has come, and I won't be surprised if, as we are going on, some other teachers also, based on certain considerations and certain interests, begin to, now that people are doing masters and the rest, before you realize those who have masters and PhD and the rest also want to come together and have a name and create the association and say that they are also highly educated. They may even want to go and get market premium, a higher market premium, because they think they have gone to school and their qualification is not easy to come by. So if government is giving all teachers market premium of say 1%, they will think that because we are the masters holders, we hold PhD, we can take 1%. So we want to break away so that we can ask government to give us more percentage. And if government doesn't give us, we will resign or we will go on strike or whatever. So uh, as soon as people have a small interest that they think the bigger union is not serving that interest, the law allows them to break up and form their union or association. But the only thing is that, as I said, the law has put a caveat that they will only have the union with the greatest number given the bargaining certificate. Is that well explained?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
It is well explained.
Sir,
thank
yes,
you,
sir,
sir.
yes, sir. I get it now.
Thank you. Thank you. So for session 4, we are looking at meaning and nature of trade unions. So we have the industrial unions. This time around, we have now gone past
Hello, sir.
the. Yeah, hello.
Yes, sir. I learned there's another breakaway group from the Ghana Bar Association called the Law Society of Ghana.
Exactly. And in fact, they have gotten, the uh,
Congratulations.
parliamentary, I think, approval and all of that. So the act has been passed by government, and so what it then means is that, in fact, legal area, legal education and practice is one of the areas that is also seeing uh, drastic change in recent times, because there's another even law that is trying to decouple uh, the law training from uh, the Ghana Legal Council. Currently, when you finish the first degree in the universities, you have to go to Makola to do 2 years of professional training. Now, they think that that is preventing people from accessing legal education, because a lot of people, even if 1,000 people finished the first degree from the various public and private universities, accredited public and private universities, they determine and say this year we are admitting 200, then the 800 is at home. The following year some admit. So they think that a lot of people who, meanwhile, law, unlike even let's say education and nursing, that mostly government is employing them, lawyers are not employed necessarily by government. You, when by their training, you can set up your own law firm and practice, and you can be employed by government or a private person. So they think that they need to decouple it. If it goes through by the end of this year, nobody will go to Makola again. You, when you finish in your place, you will be required to be trained in the professional area. And when your schools train you, you go and write exams, and when you pass that exams, then you become a lawyer. That is how nurses are trained in the universities. That is how pharmacists are trained in the universities. That is how medical doctors are trained in the universities and all other professional, even accountants, business students. If you finish and you want to go and write human resource professional exams or management and administration professional exams or ICA professional exams, you just go and register and write. When you pass, you don't need to go to their school again to learn. You will learn on your own. And so that as for the legal terrain, and now with what you just said, that one too, it means that uh, people will have the choice to become members of Ghana Bar Association. I mean that is what the law used to say, but now because of the new act that has been promulgated. So once we are in democracy, our pluralism, so the democracy is not just actually about the election we vote for MPP and NDC. Democracy engulfs or entails every aspect of our life. And that is why you should be very careful the next time you are working with people. The law, once the law allows anything, people will take advantage of that. And for unionism, the law allows for two or more persons of the same working class to form their union. And they will have to go through, they will have to have an objective constitution, office, name, their membership, and then they need to register with registrar general. So there are processes. Maybe as we're going on, we'll see that they have to go through. Once you go through that and you meet all the requirements, you take it to the labor officer, who will now once ensure that you have gone through all of that, they will issue you with a labor certificate and for you to be recognized as a labor union. But the only thing is that within your class of uh, work, it is the union with the highest members that is given the bargaining certificate. That's basically what it is. Okay, so we are looking at uh, the industrial unions, uh, which are made up of workers in the same industry as organized into the same union, regardless of skill or trade. That's giving workers in one industry or in all industries more leverage. So we are looking at when it started, that was it. Now you look at, they said the following are the advantages of that labor unions. They make negotiations easy. Employers are spared the trouble of bargaining separately with a number of unions established on a craft basis. So if we go to union and you want to look at individual crafts, so sometimes you're looking at the entire uh, group. So for example, when NAT was just one, makes it easy. If we at first it was uh, teachers and educational workers union. So or whether you were a secretary, you were administrator, you were a teacher, you were there was one union. When it happens like that, it allows the employer to meet the entire group. So when we say it was meant to have been teachers and educational workers union, both teaching and non-teaching all together as one union, then it makes it easier. They encourage workers solidarity by bringing both skilled and unskilled workers closer. So as said, if you have the union together at the industrial union level, where we are not looking at the various crafts, we are not looking at association of masons, association of carpenters, association of electricians. So if all of them are together and yet they are all working in one organization, whether they are civil servants or they are, so they say Civil Servants Association of Ghana. So once it's Civil Servants Association of Ghana, then all the various aspects of civil servants are into one and they have one union. So the employer meets them once. These unions are the need for present times when mass production techniques are repeated craft extensions and industry-wide unions are the only answer. So in current times, there are so many specialized areas such that if you want to actually bring them into specific ones, there will be so many unions that it will become difficult for you to even meet them again or to interact. These are some of the-
Sir, we can hardly hear you.
Hello, can you hear me? Hello.
Yes, it's
So
better now.
now it's okay.
It's
Oh,
better now.
sorry. Oh, sorry. So I was just talking about the merits of the industrial unions, and initially I spoke about the fact that if they are together, it makes a negotiation easier for the uh, employer. And I was giving an example where in the past or at first, teachers and educational workers were all one, whether you were teaching staff or you were non-teaching staff. And in that instance, the employer could just meet them without spending much time meeting individual unions, which consumes time and consumes energy and makes it very difficult. Okay. Then we have the craft unions. So this is the people who belong to the same craft or profession, and they constitute such unions. Okay. The main weakness of craft unions are that uh, it is often easier for an employer to break the type of union because the people are now uh, forming groups as at the strong mouthpiece, unlike where the industrial level where they all come together. And that is why people are trying, even when they break away, they still want to find a point where they can come together. Uh, Actually, the law have saved them by giving the uh, certificate to the union with the highest members. And normally you see that even though they are individual unions, they no, unless it's an exceptional demand that are qualified for that demand, you normally will find them. So like somebody asked, this whole idea of CCTU, the coalition of concerned teachers, CCT, grad, we normally see all of them almost all the time going to for strike together because the strike mostly is about something that is common to all of them. But if it gets to a point that there is something unique to one of them, then they alone can go to the strike. But because uh, they are almost similar, so if you are looking at the crafts where the people are really uh, looking at small unions, imagine if you are looking at just uh, these people. So you go to the hospital, you see mortuary workers alone want to go on strike. They go, but you see, it doesn't become so effective because how many are the mortuary workers in Ghana? And these days, there are even private mortuary homes. So if they were together with other workers, it will be more intense. But you find only mortuary workers. They go on strike, all right, but they are always complaining that when they go on strike, our government will just talk to them, they come back because the numbers are very few, and a lot of people will just come and even pick their dead bodies and put them in private homes and other private hospitals and uh, clinics that have mortuaries. So, but if they were, if there is a time that they are all going on strike, all health workers, including the mortuary men and the nurses, then that one is very intense. Because of that, government have, or the employer have to pay attention to them. Okay. Then we have the white collar unions. When we talk about the white collar, we are talking about the those who do administrative work, those who are highly educated, those who do office work, whose work require them to work in offices and other specialized areas. So when the white came, they were always wearing a, a uniform with color and tie and the rest. So I mean that those who were in that category, when we're talking about the craftsmen, we're talking about the artisans, the welders, the carpenters at that lower level, those who haven't gone to the university. Normally, interestingly, when the carpenters, when people go to learn carpentry, welding, and engineering at the university, and they call themselves engineers and other names, they become members of the white collar unions, and then they leave the other people below them, the artisans who went to technical school and the vocational school people. And then they are the ones they are looking at them as a craft union, and they are the ones who are struggling down there. Those who just went there to do some 2 months, 3 months training, and they are working. Some of them were even trained by other master craftsmen. So when we are looking at the white collar uh, unions, they are the professional workers who perform the same or similar tasks in different industries. Example, teachers, scientists, and the rest. For this one, we have recognizing and derecognizing a trade union. A trade union is said to be recognized once an employer has agreed to negotiate with it on pay and working conditions on behalf of a particular group. So as we said, once, that is why you have to go through the process to be registered according to the act. Once the employer says that I know you, that you are the mouthpiece of the workers, then that is a recognized union. If you go and put yourself together and for now, government says it knows three among teachers in government knows NAT, NAGRAT, and CCT. If people have come together and call themselves by any name, until government or the employer says, I know you, then even though you are meeting and holding your meetings, you are not a recognized union. So those that are recognized, they allow them to participate in the collective bargaining agreement. And then they do the collective bargaining with workers or group of workers that represent such union. If you are not recognized, then you cannot actually undertake collective bargaining. Then the most common way a union can gain recognition for collective bargaining purpose is by the employer simply agreeing to recognize it voluntarily. Sometimes the employer can recognize you and call you. So you find a lot of such unions in the medical field. Some of these you see the Medical Laboratory Association, and some of them don't, even though they don't have the have not registered with the labor officer, the employer voluntarily can overlook that and say, for your special role you play, I want to recognize you. But other than that, until you are actually registered, you are not supposed to bargain, and the employer is not supposed to meet you and bargain with you. The essence of the law is to ensure that people will go through due process, and that people will not just get up and create or form uh, groups overnight and demand for recognition. However, the employer voluntarily can recognize you or can decide to meet with you, even though you are not a recognized union. If the employer decides to meet you, they can meet you. And so sometimes you may at the workplace, the drivers may decide to say, we want to go and meet our management. They may not have a recognized association, but the employer can decide to say, okay, I'll meet you and listen to your grievances. So that's what we are talking about. So we could have recognized, and then we can have the voluntary trade unions recognition. Then we have the statutory trade union recognition. And for here, we are saying that you make application for statutory recognition. This is where it applies to workers who the employer, together with the any association or employers, within 21 working days after they have gone through the entire process and the law has recognized them, they are statutory. So for them, I can't say you will not meet them. Okay. So when you're meeting them, it's not like it's voluntary. That one, you need to meet them because the law, if it's, let's say, NAT has it. So if they have any issue, but according to the act, within 14 days of notice, if they say that we have problem with our salary, latest by 21 working days, then the employer should meet them. The employer should meet them. Okay, we have functions of trade union. Functions of trade union. What are some of the functions of the trade union? The major one is to negotiate for improved wages and allowances and working conditions. Okay, but there are some other important functions aside the main function of improve wages and salaries and allowances and working conditions. We also have increasing cooperation and well-being among workers. It's their function to ensure that they seek to well-being of their members. Then they also have to, it's their function to secure facilities for workers. So sometimes people, we are always hearing people talking about their uh, salaries, their allowances, but unions go beyond that. You see, sometimes teachers are teaching students in dilapidated building. The building are actually about to collapse. In fact, there have been cases where school building have even collapsed on school teachers and school children before. And then some even teach you when you are traveling along the road, you get to some place, you see that the teachers have brought there's no enough they don't have enough classrooms. So when they go to school, they bring the chalkboard under the tree, and the students sit under the tree, and the teachers are teaching the sunshine. When it's raining, they are now carrying their chairs run to a classroom and all of that. But ideally, all those things, union are supposed to ensure that teachers don't teach under trees. They are to ensure. So they should engage their employer and say, no, you can't engage us and access to teach under trees. Some workers who are supposed to use gloves and nose masks, those who are working in the uh, washrooms, you see, all of that should be the union leaders' work. So they should ensure that the facilities that they need to work with are all made available. Establishing contacts between the workers and the employers. The union members, they are not there on their own. If you are a union leader, you are not there on your own. So you serve as a liaison between workers and employers. So ordinarily, you should meet your workers to solicit their challenges and their issues, and meet the uh, employers to discuss them. And then whatever happens, you now bring it back to the union members. Trade unions working for the progress of the employees. So whatever you are doing, you should know that it is to improve the economic conditions of the workers, and therefore you should represent them uh, during the uh, collective bargaining or during the tripartite, even bonus for workers. You need to ensure that whatever you are getting is in the interest of your uh, members. Unfortunately, these days, when we vote for people, they seem to think that whatever they think about times, when they go to bargain, you won't hear anything. All what you hear is that they have accepted 4% salary increase, and then union members are crying. Yet, union leaders are really to that. But ideally, when they are doing that, they should their union members. Then they should safeguard the interests of the workers. Should be in the interest of the workers. We are looking at the increased salary or wages, sick leave. Insured, so that if anything happens, they will get the insurance and all of that. Provision of labor welfare. We need to, it is the union to look for the welfare of the members. Then the militant functions. Militant functions. Here, they really, that is where, if in the essence of looking for better condition of service, if the employer feels it's a duty of the unions to organize them to go on strike or demonstration, you need to fight for their rights. They need to make sure that they, for the sake of their members' welfare, when the uh, employers fail to give them whatever they get from their bargaining, they really undertake uh, strikes and all of that. So that is where even some workers are victimized. They can stand on their behalf. So sometimes a member is victimized or is dismissed uh, by not following the right process. Union members come together, the union leaders come together and can let others go on a strike against them. Then we have the fraternal functions. Here, it is meant to help its members in times of need. So they are to make sure that they take up welfare measures for improving the morale of workers. So the welfare association, when people are bereaved, the unions should support them. They should generate self-confidence among workers, encourage them through capacity building and workshops and seminars, encourage them to be disciplined. Also train workers to be able to know their function and to perform very well. They need to provide opportunities for promotion and growth. So uh, they need to, these days, the teachers or the other workers, you see, if they see nurses and teachers and other workers, they say they need capacity building to go for as part of their promotion process. They need some points. What they do is that they pay even for them. The unions can even pay for them to undertake seminars and workshops so that they can build points for their promotion. It should all be their duty. It's not just about only salary and wages and going for strike and demonstration, but the the union itself can actually even look at enhance uh, health uh, service for them. Teachers, I think they have something for teachers. Cancer, they have insured them so that even if you have a certain kind of cancer, the union, the NAT people will take care of that. So the unionism should be looking at all of that, protect women workers against discrimination. So when people are discriminated, you need to come in and fight for them. So you are actually looking at every aspect of their this, and then we have the social functions. So here we are looking at the activities such as support the cooperative union, credit union that is formed to support people with loans, maybe loan to support their children education and other things, uh, yeah, welfare activities, the education activities. So the welfare activities, you look at maybe if they are organizing, uh, there's a program, whether it's funeral or it's naming ceremony or whatever, you need to get some kind of welfare to support such activities. Then for education, you can also even support them with uh, some soft loan to take care of their educational needs. So um, we now are looking at the session 6, which is our last session. We have barely 22 minutes, and we hope that. So, the reasons why employees join trade union. We have said that today trade union is not compulsory. by the Act 2003, Act 651. Membership to a union is not compulsory, unlike those days in the early formation of unions in 1958 thereabout, where every member of the union of the work belong to the union. Now it is the membership is open to individual employees who decide to join or not to join. And at this point, we are saying that why will why do union members or workers decide to join unions? Why will workers join unions or employees join unions? Why? Yes.
So for better conditions.
Yeah, for better conditions. So if you see for better conditions, it is very open. You would have covered almost everything.
So we can hardly hear you.
I said that it is good, but that will cover almost all the points. So we want to bring the better conditions down. Other than that, if you give that point example, if you don't take care, it will cover almost everything. We want to actually bring more points. Yeah. So we are looking at better wages and benefits. What are the wages?
Sir, we are not hearing you.
Hello, can you hear me?
Now it is better.
It's
Yeah.
better now.
Your line is faint. We
Meanwhile,
hear
I'm
you
now
from far.
wow, I'm on campus. So please, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I said for better wages and benefits. You see, they come together because don't forget that tripartite the involves workers, it involves employers, and it involves government agencies. So normally minimum wage, when they are fixing minimum wage, workers are part of it. They are represented by their unions. So people want to belong to unions so that when they are fixing minimum wage, they can make suggestion to their uh, union leaders. So for the sake of their better wages and other benefits, they want to belong to the union so that when they go for union meeting, they can be heard or they can make suggestion. Then personal protection. You see, when you belong to union and the employer maltreats you, the union will come to your aid. If you don't belong to the union and you are sacked, you will fight it on your own. You go to court on your own. But if a teacher is wrongly sacked or wrongly treated or is maltreated, the union members can come to the aid either by engaging a legal person for the person, or they can even demonstrate or go on strike to support their colleague. And so because of that, the people want to. Then equality. So they want to actually get equal rights and equal pay. Equal rights, equal pay. They want to be treated equally so that uh, nobody will take them for granted. Health and safety. I mean, we've spoken about how they can even, the unions can even have their own health insurance or additional health benefits. We just spoke about NAT having a cancer service for their members. Or 0501. Cancer service for their union members. And a sense of security. They think that they are secured. After all, when they say something and they will have the backing of uh, uh, the union. The union. Sense of participation. It gives the opportunity for them to participate in the things that concerns them. Because of the union, when they are discussing salary, your welfare issues and everything, you are part of it and you are able to make contribution. And then they feel that they really are, they belong to the group. They feel belonged. In Maslow's theory, you see there's a level where they are talking about the esteem, social and esteem needs. So where they want to feel belong to a group. If you are part of the union, sometimes they have anniversary, they have gathering, they have programs. So you are joining the union, they have a meeting, they have conferences, they have seminars and all of that. So it makes you feel belong. That, but if you are there just going to work and coming, you don't belong to any union, then you are living that lonely or individual life. So when they want to belong, when he becomes a member, let's say he's a member of the teachers and lady teachers, not ladies, not lads, police ladies association. Uh, so he belongs to, it gets opportunity to have that belongingness. It allows them to know people of different background in different places. So because of that, people want to, the reason they want to form association, they will buy the t-shirts, they will even be talking about socialization. Let's go for maybe tour. Let's tour. Sometimes they even tour outside the country. So people now feel belong when they actually even are sick. They were people who pay at them visit, people who be concerned about them. So it takes that loneliness away from them. Then platform for self-expression. You now are able to even get opportunity to. There's always an opportunity for you to express yourself or be able to share your feelings and ideas with other people. If you are alone, knows you don't belong to any union, who do you talk to? But once there's a union, when you go to meeting, you have an idea, you have some uh, uh, suggestion. If you have a feeling, you can express it because you go for meetings, programs, and seminars. Then it gives you a better working relationship. A working relationship with other people. If a lot of us, it is the union that brings us together, discuss issues, so that when we are also working, that relationship also help us to continue working together in a very good working relationship. Problems of trade unions. Problems of trade unions. Trade unions, all the benefits and people enjoy. There are also people also don't want to enjoy. Some people don't want to enjoy because of certain problems. One organization by employees. Some of the employees, when they become executives, they really take it as their personal property. They don't even solicit for other people's view. They really interfere even with administrative running of the work. Some of them even want to come in and interfere. So if it is UTAG, something is happening at one university, and then they want to come there and decide that no, you as a HOD, you shouldn't have done this, you shouldn't have done that. So they don't want to be part of your union so that you can even come and interfere in what they do. Then inefficient officials of the union. Some of the officials are sometimes actually inefficient due to lack of adequate training. Sometimes there are people who call themselves trade union leaders. They just want, because they are popular, because they know a lot of people, because of relationship they have. But maybe the area, if he's the treasurer, he doesn't even have knowledge, and you are an accountant, you are auditor, you go there and there's a treasurer whose background is maybe if you are a teacher, a teacher who is teaching Ghanaian language, who has not done accounting before, he doesn't know anything about audit, and he's the accountant. They have voted for the person as a treasurer, a financial secretary, and he's really unable to even prepare budget or account for it. And People say, no, I can't belong to this union where the executives don't even know their left from their right. So where the union member leaders actually are not well educated or experienced in the areas, that some of them they go for to bargain and they don't even know how to even argue their points, and people get annoyed with them. Apathy of union members, uh, where the membership provide absolute protection, and then some of the members do not participate in the activities. Some union leaders are the only ones who think, as I said, they will not even consult. They are doing everything. So people think that, but this union, what at all am I doing in it? Because the people, they won't even meet us. They won't even organize any meeting. You only hear them talk. Sometimes they even go and say they shouldn't have said it. I even had a better suggestion for them. If that is the case, then I will not be part of it. Then we also have, due to lack of size of membership, some unions are too weak, as we said, to manage their own affairs because of their small size. Sometimes the membership is not a lot. They have few people. They can't even, if they want to do contribution, that contribution even makes it is too small that I can't do anything. They can't even make impact. I was talking about how some associations, and I was just talking about even the mortuary workers union. So sometimes when at the organization level, some people see, I mean, you have about 3 drivers or 4 drivers at the organization, and then they say they want to form union. Those 2 or 3 drivers, when they form union, who even listens to them? So everybody now, that's why I don't waste our time. 3 people, how can we form union? So sometimes some employees, by their number and by their relevance at the workplace, even when they form union, they don't get the attention they require. So people, when you call them to belong to that union, they are not interested in becoming part of that union. They rather want to be the individual, because they think that all meetings, everything they discuss, everything is waste of time. Because when they meet and talk, and they even getting the time of management to meet them cry is not there. Because when you see you are form association, you are about 3 cleaners or 2 cleaners, then you say you want to form association. You are the Ghana Education Service, or you are in the secondary school, you are about 3 drivers in the secondary school, and you want to form association. People don't want to, but when they are many, then they think that we need to come together. We are so many that if we come together, nobody can cheat us. Okay. Then corruption among union leaders. And some of them, the dues, they collect the dues, they don't even account for it. They don't account for it, and they just spend it. And people are always collecting dues, and they are actually not even accounting for the dues that they are collecting. Then we have government bureaucracies. Sometimes the fact that you really take too long carrying out negotiation. Sometimes people start negotiation takes so much time to go through. Some of them, you hear about 2 years, 3 years, their collective bargaining has expired. They started asking for some allowances for the past 3 years. The government they started with cry is gone. The new government has come. Before you realize this government cry, its term will end, and still they are still bargaining. People think that and that there is no need to join this union. It's just waste of everybody's time. Then we have government intervention. Sometimes government may interfere with some freedom of the unions, making certain union actions. Uh, so if government mostly interferes in the way things are done, what happens is that it becomes a problem to unions, and that's where unions are also even engaging in strikes. So there are problems. Also, these are the problems of trade unions. Um, I think we are done with Unit 3. At this point, I'll ask if there is any comments, question, discussion so far. So what we have actually looked at that we have looked at the history of a union in Ghana, right, during the colonial days, through the independence, various democratic government, right from the first government, the first republic, second republic, third republic, fourth republic. We have also even looked at the period where there were soldiers. We saw how Achampong, with all what we hear bad, we saw how Achampong actually supported the trade unions, and we saw how Progress Party actually didn't also support trade unions. So now, when you are actually having a conversation, you understand the role each government, right from Nkrumah up to date. We even saw in 1978 where political party, the trade unions formed political party. Unfortunately, today the unions are not supposed to be partisan. For now, they are not. In fact, some of the even trade unions or some of the employees are not supposed to partake in active party politics. As for trade unions, they are not supposed to be that active, but some organizations or some institutions, individual members can participate, like teachers and nurses and doctors. As an individual, if you want to be active political party person, you can do, but your group as a union cannot go and support a political party, and you come from a political party, unlike 1978 where they were given that chance. And then we have now looked at the uh, the Act 2003, Act 651, and how it has brought unionism. And we have looked at also why people join union and the problems of trade unions. At this juncture, I think I'll pause here and take any other comments or suggestions from you. Yeah.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Sir, please, the problems of trade union, no, can you add technological change
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
job
yeah.
insecurity?
So how will you explain it?
Sir, addressing job displacement and skills obsolescence due to um high level machines now replacing the labor force.
Yeah.
Maybe some work, the work maybe 10 people will do today, due to high sophisticated machine, or maybe it will perform maybe about 50 people work within a minute or an
Yes,
hour.
it's a problem. In fact, the same heading. The other side is sometimes even the people becoming familiar with the machines and working with it. You see, apart from the fact that one person is even using the machine, displacing several workers. Sometimes even the people learning to use the machine is even a problem also, and so it makes some redundant. So technology also even make some union members redundant, and when it makes them redundant, it means they will lose their job, and their membership is affected. So I think you are right. Once institutions begin to go more, now people are using MOA. So if they were to engage laborers, what it means is that they would have engaged 10 workers. Now, what they will do is that they may not even sack the people, but when they go on retirement, they will not replace. So when they go on retirement, instead of replacing the laborers, because they have the mower or a slasher, they let, so before you realize your membership is reducing. Initially, maybe you were 20 laborers working in the secondary school. Now the school goes to buy mower and buy slashers. Previously, you were using cutlass. Because now they are using mowers and slashers, they don't need all the 20 of you. So before you realize, your number has come to about 5, and it has reduced to the small size as we were talking about. So you are right. Uh, some of them, they are even other highly sophisticated machines that can produce in commercial quantities. So they may not need many people to do it. And so I think you are right. Now that, see, imagine, because we are doing online, there are students from Wenchi, from Tamale, from Fiasemai, from Nsewem, from Bugis. If we didn't have the a chance of using this link and were to do face-to-face teaching, there would have been about 5 or 6 tutors teaching you. Even if you were 2 students in Fiasimai, 5 in Isawam, 3 in Tamale, would have been teachers teaching individually. But now, because of technology, to one page and one person teaching you from all these places, which means that if there were 10 teachers who were to teach a course, have all not been engaged. One person, how can I form a union alone? I can't form a union because I'm only one person. Meanwhile, if they were many lecturers teaching on individual campuses, but now I am the only one teaching the whole of these people. Some of the courses, even the whole country, one person is teaching. Because some, you will find 2 people this center, 1 here, 3 here, 4 here. So the whole country, when you put them together, they are about 40. So one person is teaching them. That one person cannot. Or it's gradually also affecting unionism. Okay. Yeah, somebody there was a is there a hand up? Yes, please ask. Hamidu.
Yes, Doc.
Hamidu.
I want to speak on the presentations once we are done with Unit 3 today.
Yeah.
How
So
the session is divided.
yeah, so in fact by close of today, Hamidu, kindly have a WhatsApp page for all your colleagues so that we can have a meeting either this evening when you are done, because
Yes.
at 12 o'clock you have another lecture. So when you are done with the day's
Yes.
lecture, create a unit so that within some 5 minutes or 10 minutes, we could look at the areas to give you topics for presentation.
Okay. Doc, platform.
Hello?
There's already a platform for this course, Doc.
No, but that course, there are people who are not part of our group on it. Is that not it?
No, I think it's just basically for industrial relations.
Yeah, there's a platform for that.
Yeah, but you know that. But the industrial relation, there are other centers who are not part of our group.
Yes,
Like,
No, it's
yes,
only
sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Is not part of that.
yeah, so I wanted, is it possible for us to have only our group members on the page? The Ensawam, the Fiasemai, Tamale, Ogis, and the rest. Can we have only our group members on the page?
It is possible.
Yeah, please, who will lead that for me?
But I can't.
Amidu, can you do just like we did with the other one?
Yeah, I mean, kindly do that for us. Since if you have done it for somebody, please do that for us. Respectfully, you are our choosing leader. So, I mean, please, when can this be done?
In fact, right away, you start.
Yes.
Okay, so please do that so that after class this evening, when you are done and we are all on it and we say we are ready, we can agree and then I can put the topics there. Maybe we can, I don't know whether we will ballot or whatever approach, whether we will just take it. So, we look at the number of persons involved. If we need to make it center by center groupings, then because we can't have it individuals. So maybe we need to. In other subjects, do you do it individuals or group?
Group.
So we can create the same groups. So if you put it there, you can even suggest the groups for me on the page. And once we get to know the group members, then we will see how we can bring out the topics and then we will let you write it.
Okay.
I'm so grateful for your cooperation. So far, we are working together. I pray we will meet one of the days. If you are writing an exam, I will take advantage to come around and see you in person. I wish you all the best. I mean, we are waiting for you. Thanks so much. Bye.